So I want to share with you how to harness gravity and instantly increase your clubhead speed by probably 15%. Hey, my name is Eric Kaplan. I've had the pleasure of coaching multiple major champions, and I want to give you the fastest way to increase your clubhead speed literally overnight. So what we're talking about right now is what we refer to as a pressure shift. And so this is how we utilize the ground in a way which creates explosive distance by using our glutes more efficiently. So one of the most common issues I see that people suffer that causes really big decline in power loss is when they take the club back, we see an over-rotation of their lower body. So what happens when they do this, they have the makings of reverse pivoting. So if I bring this back this way, I'm going to end up falling back and losing all my power in terms of my pressure shift, or what people would call a weight shift. So we want to learn how to powerfully load and unload our center of pressure in the golf swing as a way to really increase our club head speed by probably 15%. And we're going to take a look at that literally in terms of what actually changes. And so the nice thing to know is for people in the past who've said, hey, I want you to learn how to transfer your weight from one foot to the other, they're focusing on symptoms, not fundamentals. So what I want you to see very quickly is the pressure shift is a result of your secondary tilt. And so if you were to stand up straight, put your arms across your chest, good, and bring your rotation back by pulling that right shoulder like we talked about in Secret Power move number 1, beautiful, by activating the scapula, good. So you're not going to feel your center of pressure shift at all. However, the moment you create a little bit of that secondary tilt, even while standing up straight, good, and if you pull that shoulder back, see all of a sudden the weight starts to load into your right glute. That's happening without your head moving off the golf ball, which is critical to understand. Because the last thing I want to do in my golf swing is say, hey, I want to learn how to shift my weight, which is moving my center of mass, which is going to cause me to actually have to sway back towards the target, losing all my force from creating any bit of centripetal force in the golf swing. And so what's nice to know is that the pressure shift we're looking for is a symptom of your secondary tilt. Now, a lot of people, as they rotate, they try to stay a little bit too static, which is, again, going to contribute to power loss. As you rotate, I want you to allow the weight to load into that right glute a little bit more. So what we're talking about here is almost like a micro squat into your right glute. So I want you to get into your posture, primary tilt back, even without a golf club, bump your hip forward, shoulder slightly engaged. I want you to imagine, if you could, that there is a grape underneath your right heel. Okay. And so I'm not sure if you guys been to Italy before, but I want you to imagine that you're squeezing juice out of that grape without moving at all. So just push that heel down a little bit more. That's it. That little pressure shift is what's going to instantly create a lot more power in your golf swing. And what that's going to do as well, which is really interesting, it's going to activate the glute in a way where the lower body is not able to over-rotate anymore. Okay. And so what we're talking about here is what I look for aesthetically with any tour player is what I call the right hip line, or the trail hip line. So the hips are like an oval, right? If I get here,
I feel that activated.
No question. So if my hips are an oval, right? If I were to just rotate, my hip comes off that line. I don't have any pressure shift because of that. If I have that tilt and I rotate, see how that kind of loads into that side? That's going to keep the hip right on that same hip line. That's what's going to allow me to load weight into my right glute. And kinetic chain or kinematic sequence says if you load well into the right side, or your trail side, you're going to unload powerfully into your lead side, which is the first thing we're talking about in the downswing, which is how you go ahead and pressure shift back into your left side. And so what Jack Nicklaus would say when he's taking a lesson is, I could never focus on my downswing in terms of changing things that happen in my golf swing. It takes so quick amount of time that I can't change anything. It's a symptom. So if you're trying to learn how to shift your weight back powerfully into your left side in the downswing, you have to learn how to first get there in the backswing. So what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and, without a golf club, put your arms across your chest for me. So we're going to create a little bit of, get into your primary tilt, get into your secondary tilt, good. Now, as you pull that shoulder back, see how the weight wants to load into your right heel? Now, it's happening not because you're thinking about it, you're just letting it happen. The body's asking for the weight to go there, and the reason why, if you were to imagine the Leaning Tower of Pisa, so I'm not sure if you guys have been to Italy, but the tower looks like this, right? Eventually it's going to fall, not if, but when, in this direction. So if I have this tilt to my spine, and if I just rotate, where's inertia wanting me to go and shift my center of pressure into my right glute? So we don't want to try to get too static and stop it from happening. As you rotate, the body wants to load pressure into that glute. Good. So you're going to do that 10 times. Now, good. So see how just by going ahead and pulling that shoulder back, and because you have the secondary tilt, you're naturally loading more weight into that right glute. Now, If you had a stance width that was too narrow, you cannot support this because the lower body would then want to over-rotate, so Dion, get a little bit wider. That's why we're seeing a little bit more of a sway. And also, if you're too wide, you wouldn't be able to get back to your left side. That's why for anyone who says to somebody, hey, let me teach you how to shift your weight, it's not talking about your stance width first, carriage before the horse. If you're not talking about secondary tilt first, not going to happen. Okay. So I want you to go and grab driver, and we're going to go ahead and get some rehearsals of your golf swing. So we're going to go ahead and practice getting into our primary tilt, engagement, secondary tilt, and while you pull the shoulder back just in your takeaway, I'm not going to hit you, that pulling action of the shoulder, we want to allow you to feel that load into the right glute. You know, we're not trying to say it's only the shoulder blade moving by itself, trying to not get anything else move. The golf swing is a dynamic motion, it's not static. A lot of people, they try to say, hey, I just pull my shoulder blade back, but you're not allowing the forces naturally to apply themselves the way they want to. Beautiful. Beautiful. Now this is one of the biggest power sources in the golf swing, which is activating the glutes, which is, again, we could not do that if you're standing up in a position with the weight on the balls, the feet, and set up. That's how all these pieces are to go and, you know, really work in synergy with each other. So I want you each to hit a golf ball, first of all, with trying to keep the lower body more what people would call still. Okay. And the issue with keeping the lower body still is you're not allowing the pressures to shift the way that we want it to. Okay. So,
which is what I do anyway.
Which is what most of us do anyways, right? Which is a major source of power loss. So for this next one, I want you to allow yourself to load weight a little bit more into that. Awesome. Okay. So I want you to load weight a little bit more into that right glute. So as you take the club back, feel like, again, there's no sway off the ball, but as you rotate, see how the weight wants to go there? Mm-hmm. Good, just let it. So I'm right behind you, don't swing quite yet, D. That's a little bit wide of a stance width. There you go. Beautiful. So as you rotate, beautiful. See how the weight wants to go there?
Yes.
Good, now let it. So each of you, let's hit one. How's that?
There's a nice draw in it. Oh, yeah.
A little bit of a draw, because again, if you're shifting into your trail side, you're going to do a better job. D. You're going to automatically get yourself back to your left side. You know, for those of us who struggle kind of hanging back on our back foot, if we're not getting our pressure shifting to the right side first, we're always going to hang back. As long as we go ahead and open the door, we can close the door, okay, if that makes sense. And so for those of us who have heard in the past, hey, I want you to swing, you know, stepping and swinging and moving your head all over the place, you're losing all your power because you're losing your center. This is how we create a pressure shift with no motion off the golf ball, which initially sounds kind of crazy, saying, hey, we can shift our weight with no motion off the golf ball. We're doing it by shifting our center of pressure, not center of mass. And it's a symptom of having nothing more than secondary tilt, proper stance width, and proper rotation. So yet again, the engine of your golf swing is still just a 2-inch move of the shoulder blade pulling, but letting gravity being harnessed in a way that activates that right glute more efficiently. This allows you to load into your right side, your trail side in the backswing, and unload in your downswing. If you never load into one, you can't unload into the other, if that makes sense, for sure. And that's where, you know, for those of us who had trouble swaying off the golf ball, because we're trying to shift our weight or shift our, you know, create more power that way by pushing our left shoulder, that's a sway. From here, you have to work really hard to get yourself back over, which is another reason why people come over the top in their downswing. We're mitigating all that holistically by talking about these are nothing more than elements of your setup, symptoms of them. Because you having proper stance width creates the room for you to properly shift your pressure without moving your head back and forth. You creating the secondary tilt allows you to naturally load into that trail side. So I like to keep things a little bit more simple than complicated. We don't need to do a whole bunch of drills, but rather say it's nothing more than a result of the stuff we've already talked about. Which again, we just increased club head speed for UD by probably 3 or 4 miles an hour as we approach that 130 mile per hour threshold. And let's actually have you hit one just to kind of see this as well, Jeff. So I want you to hit one with, you know, trying to keep the, you know, still rotating from the scapula, but I don't want you to allow the pressure to shift into your right side. Okay, so that's when the lower body kind of over-rotating the backswing. There's no really room in which you can unload. So this next one, I want you to go ahead, same elements of posture. I want you to get, as you get into your, awesome. So as you rotate from the shoulder blade, allow that weight, awesome. Oh, stunning. And so that time you're actually able to unload on the way down because you let.
It's so different too.
100%. You were able to load and then unload. Awesome. So what we're going to dive into next, guys, is how you create power move number 3, which is proper width. So far what we covered is proper rotation, which is power move number 1, creating centripetal force. The second thing was harnessing gravity by via of this pressure shift. Next thing is going to be how to create more width and with it more power in the backswing. Excited? I know I am. Let's dive in deeper.